Hi, this is Mark, and it would be Michelle, but she's not feeling good today. And this is our episode of, I think it's 22, and it's Saturday at 3 p.m. on September 1st. So I'm going to do a live today, and then if Michelle's feeling good next week, she'll be back with us. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was basically how to get started changing your life with the GAPS diet and the medical medium diet. A lot of people ask, how do I do it? And I'm going to give you a quick rundown over the next 10, 15 minutes of how Michelle and I did it, so that you can then hopefully take what we did and what we're telling you and apply it to your life. And I've made it fairly simple, and I'm going to start off with introducing the diets, and then I'll talk about the process we've used. And basically, it's a process we've used with everything, not just healing my autism and healing Michelle's chronic fatigue and IBS and manic depressive, bipolar disorder, and numerous other health issues she had, including Lyme disease. But anyway, let me start off by first talking about the GAPS diet. The GAPS diet we learned about back in 2013. And we didn't start on the diet until a couple weeks after we learned about it, and that was in June and July of 2013. But what the GAPS diet is, the GAPS in GAPS stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. There's one viewer, hi viewer, and so what that means is the basic premise of this diet is if you heal your gut, you're going to heal. Hey mom, my mom joined. And if you heal your gut, you're going to heal your brain and most everything else in your body as well. It's not a cure-all, but I'm going to first show you what you need to do starting on the GAPS diet. You see this? This is the GAPS book. And let me see if I can get it a little bit closer. There we go. Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and all the things that are listed here on the front: autism, dyspraxia, ADD, dyslexia, ADHD, schizophrenia, depression. All of those things she has found are treatable with this diet. That's the book. So get this book and most definitely read the book, because by reading the book, most of your simple basic questions are answered in the book. Even more complex questions are going to be answered in this book. For instance, how do I know when to introduce new foods? She talks about it. Here's the back of the book. The blurbs aren't really readable, but that is Dr. McBride. All right. But the Gut and Psychology Syndrome diet, it basically consists of these foods. And I'll list them real quick: meat, bone broth, fats, animal fats for the most part, garlic, raw garlic in this case, and probiotics. Now, probiotics, I mean capsules that I used were BioCult. They were developed by Dr. Campbell McBride, and Michelle used those as well. But then fermented foods such as kefir, live cultured yogurt, unpasteurized sauerkraut, those types of things. So when you're doing the diet, you're going to be eating all of those foods basically every day, every meal. And Dr. Campbell McBride's recommendation is you drink a cup of broth for every meal. She considers it a drink, not the meal itself. But it can be the meal itself. And for the most part, for the first year and a half, the introductory phase, I stayed on for a year and a half. And that was the broth, meat, animal fats, garlic, and probiotics. And I ate that every day, about 3 times a day for a year and a half straight. I didn't deviate from that on that year and a half, which was unusual for me because usually I'm not quite that disciplined. But those are the foods on the GAPS diet. And the premise of the GAPS diet is this: your intestinal lining, the epithelial cells in your intestinal tract, if they get damaged, if they have holes in them caused by either pharmaceutical chemicals, environmental toxins, bacterial or yeast overgrowth that eat holes in your gut, you're dumping unprocessed food straight into your bloodstream. Well, that being the case, hey, Abby, I see you've joined. Thanks for being here. And that being the case, you dumping unprocessed food directly into your bloodstream, you're dumping those toxins into your bloodstream. You're dumping bacteria and other microbes and extra yeast directly into your bloodstream without being processed by your gut. Most of your immune system is in your gut. And that being the case, if you have a destroyed intestinal lining, your gut, your immune system isn't working as well as it should be, and it's not cleaning the food for you. So that is the basic premise behind the GAPS diet and the foods. Now, the next diet, which Michelle and I, the GAPS diet, just so you know, we were on that for 4.5 years, from July of 2013 until January of 2018. But then in January 2018, we heard of the medical medium diet. Now, I say it's a diet. He has a few different ones to heal certain areas of your body, such as your liver, help you detox from heavy metals and viruses and bacteria and that type of thing. Now, let me show you the book on the medical medium diet. There we go. That is the book. You need the book. Read the book once you get the book. The same thing goes for the GAPS diet. You need the book, get the book, read the book. Anyway, there is the medical medium. That's his first book. And for those of you on here, since we're talking really about autism for the most part, he has a whole chapter in there on autism and what autistic people need to eat and should eat to recover from their autism. And if anyone is asking, do you know of someone who has healed their child from autism using the medical medium diet only? Yes. Her name is Medical Medium Mommy, and she's on Instagram or Twitter, one of the two. I can find that out and let you know. And she put her son on that, and he's only been on it 8 months, and I think he was 4 when he started. And she says he has fully recovered. She's documented his journey, their journey, I should say, entirely from the beginning of the year up until about now. And so we can post that link here later if you'd like. But the basic explanation of the medical medium diet is this. We all, as humans, we all carry around loads of viruses, bacteria, and that type of thing. And his premise is that most of our health issues are because of a few different types of virus. One in particular, EBV or Epstein-Barr virus. Now, if you read the book, you'll get all the details, which I won't go into here. But his premise is that because we carry around that viral load and the bacterial load that we do, we need to reduce that to manageable levels for our immune system. His diet, at least in the medical medium book, the one I showed you just now, is mainly, well, I won't say mainly, the first 28 days is almost entirely fruit. There is a provision for salads, green salads and some green smoothies. But for the most part, this is a raw, vegan, fruit-based diet. And it's actually in the first 20, we did his detox, detox protocol, I guess, for lack of a better word, for about 35 days instead of 28 days. And in that period, I'm quite sure I lost most of the heavy metals in my system because my brain considerably changed. I didn't know it. I couldn't feel it. But Michelle said my communication was much better. My emotional reception and emotional communication was much better. My verbal communication was much better. And it improved my mood so much that for the most part, I'm just a happy-go-lucky person now. On the GAPS diet, that happened to a certain extent, but the GAPS didn't fix all the loose ends that the medical medium diet seems to have done for me. And Michelle's even feeling much better on this diet. It also goes to help replenish crashed adrenals. And so burnout adrenal glands. And for those of you who don't know what adrenals are, they're little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. And they are in control of approximately 29 different hormones. That is a lot of hormones. A lot of them are sex. A lot of the hormones are appetite. They're the fight or flight response. They are, what was the other I was going to say? Metabolism, that type of thing. Sleep. So if you feel as if you have burned out adrenals, then this would be the diet for you. It was definitely the diet for me because I'm quite sure my adrenals had crashed, and Michelle's as well. So the medical medium diet really has provided us with energy, good sleep. While we've been sick a few times on the diet, we're pretty sure that's part of detoxing and part of the diet. We've had strep. I've had strep a few times since the beginning of the year. The worst is it lasts for a couple of days, and I start getting over it. And it's easier to handle each time you get sick. But the medical medium diet has been a wonderful diet and seems to have tied up all the loose ends of my autism that the GAPS diet did not. But the GAPS diet was a wonderful diet, and it did amazing things. But I'm glad we found the medical medium diet for me and for Michelle. Now, let me go through the process that we've used that you will want to model your journey on, because it just works. And other people have done it this way. We've done it this way. It's really pretty simple. There are just 4 things to start with. So, first one, you got to get started on the diets, either one. But first, you got to get started. What that means is get the books, read the books, and then cook. If it's on the GAPS diet, you'll be cooking bone broth, mainly in meat and that type of thing. And there are recipes in the book once you pass on to the next stages. But starting really is getting and reading the books and doing the cooking, or for the medical medium in this case, doing the food prep. Because mainly it's smoothies, fruit smoothies, or salads, which is not really a whole lot of cooking. It's just a lot of food prep. But starting, you have to start first before you can go anywhere. All right. Second one, commit. All right. Here's what my definition is of being committed. All right. You keep going until you're healed, or you keep going until you're successful. Whatever you want to call it, you just keep going. You don't have to go fast. You don't have to go slow. You just keep going until you're successful, until you're healed. All right. Commitment is as simple as that. You just keep going. We'll talk about setbacks in a minute, because I know folks are going, oh, setbacks, what about those? Well, we'll talk about those. All right. Learn. This is the third step. You need to look up what you don't know. If you can't find it, you can ask a friend, you can ask me, you can hire me and Michelle as coaches to even help you on this journey, which that is really awesome because we're really good at this. Or, and you'll have to do this anyway, you're going to have to learn to rely on yourself. Self-reliance is huge because it will get you over the humps. The humps are not usually just gaps in knowledge. So, as you learn, you'll take it and you'll apply it. So, learn. Look up what you don't know. Again, look up what you don't know. Ask someone who does, like me, or you can even hire us to help you through it, either way. Or learn to rely on yourself, because that's going to be the biggest thing that supports you throughout your whole journey. All right? Learn. Now, deal. Here's what I mean by that. Deal with things. All right? We're going to talk about, really, you're going to be dealing with setbacks. All right? Setbacks are, on the GAPS diet, they're called regressions. And what that means is you if you're on the GAPS diet or your loved one's on the GAPS diet and you've eaten something that has brought autism symptoms back or symptoms back of ADD or dyslexia or depression, that's considered a regression. All that is a setback. It's just a fancy word for setback. That's it. So what you do is you deal with it. And here's how you deal with it on the GAPS diet. On the GAPS diet, you go back to basics. If you have added veggies to your diet because you felt like you could, and you start seeing a return of symptoms, autism symptoms, ADD, whatever, what you do is you eliminate the veggies from your diet, what you added, and you go back to eating just the bone broth, the meat, the fat, and the garlic and probiotics. Because for that first year and a half, that was the most healing thing that I did. And I experienced quite a few regressions in that first year and a half. And as my parents and my wife know, we had gone out for a birthday dinner back in 2013, I think it was, and my birthday's in November. And I thought I had checked the food thoroughly, but apparently I didn't. We got back over to my parents' house. We were sitting around the table having coffee and talking, and autism symptoms kicked right back in within 30 minutes of eating. My mom and dad saw it happen. My wife saw it happen, and she was familiar. Excuse me. She was familiar with it, but they weren't, and so it was very surprising to them. And they actually saw me go from what was it? I don't know which is the good guy and which is the bad guy in the Jekyll and Hyde scenario, but they saw me go from the good guy to the mean guy in just like 3 minutes. So that is regression, and regression again is just a fancy word for setback. So you deal with your setbacks. Now on the medical medium diet, I don't ever remember experiencing a setback or a regression. But when you get tired, as Anthony Williams says, you're not eating enough, so eat more fruit. Dates are a lifesaver, and dates can be really sweet. In fact, I used to like sweet things, but dates have kind of cured me of that. But dates will even end cravings, and so dates would be your lifesaver for cravings or setbacks or that kind of thing, if you want to call it that, on the medical medium diet. Now, that's the process we use, and I'll quickly recap it for those of you who are coming in late or just want a quick recap of it. Start. That means start by getting the book, reading the book, doing the cooking or the food prep. All right? You got to start to get down the road. Commit. Commitment. It really is this simple. Keep going on your journey until you're healed, recovered, or successful. Successful is a little vague. We're really talking about healing and recovery, so you just keep going until you're healed or recovered. All right, on to the third. Learn. You'll definitely want to learn to be as self-reliant as possible, all right? And what that means is trying to figure it out for yourself. Now, if you run into dead ends, there are plenty of people you can talk to. Me and Michelle, you can talk to friends here online that hear your autism, or you can talk to friends you know who are in other groups, like the GAPS diet group or any of the medical medium support groups. So learn. If you don't know what it is, ask. If you run into a question, ask the question, we'll answer it. All right? Deal. Okay? That means deal with regressions or deal with setbacks. Setbacks, again, on the GAPS diet, setbacks are usually called regressions, and the best thing to take care of to deal with regressions on the GAPS diet is go back to basics. And the basics being meat, meat broth, garlic, probiotics, and fat. Those only until the symptoms that have reappeared go away. All right? And then you just keep going. Now, on the medical medium diet, if you're tired, if you feel like you have low blood sugar, that means you're not eating enough, so you need to eat more. I don't remember ever experiencing a regression, I'm going to use that term, on the medical medium diet, but for anyone who has, just go back to eating fruit only. Anthony William, in his book, Medical Medium, in the chapter on autism, says that people with autism need more glucose, so they need to eat lots of fruit. That is true. And I knew that. I knew it was a low blood sugar situation even before I knew about the medical medium. But anyway, so deal with it. Don't let the symptoms occur and then you just say, oh, well, go back to basics. Now, if you have questions about it, you can ask me and Michelle or anyone here in our group. We'll be happy to answer. But that is a quick recap of the process we've used and a quick explanation of the diets. That, if you just start, you can change your life or your loved one's life just following that simple process and following one of these two diets. And I used the GAPS diet first and then the medical medium. I did not combine them. But I have heard of at least one person who has combined both diets and is healing her son, and that has been successful for them. But just start, because you can make changes quickly. In just a few weeks, you can start seeing some changes. So just start, commit, just keep going until you recover or until your loved one is recovered. Learn as much as you can, ask questions where you need to and where you can, and then deal with any regressions or setbacks that come along. The process is that simple. And yes, I've been doing this for a little over 5 years, so I know what I'm talking about, because I've used this entire process, not just to heal my autism, but to try to figure out social things when I was autistic. And I was pretty successful at that, but I was more successful losing my autism. And so it can be done. And I am a good example of that. Michelle is a good example of healing her health issues with diet as well. So if you guys have any questions, you know where to come and ask. And we will see you next week, hopefully with Michelle back. Thank you very much. Talk to you later. See you next week.